If you're starting or growing a remote company, then listen up. In this video, I'm going to give you my 5 top tips for building a remote company. My name's Tim, I run Exposure Ninja, and we've built Exposure Ninja 100% remote from 1 person to 98 people in the team now over the last 6 years. And we've learned loads of stuff doing it. So check this out. My tip number 1 is to be okay with being remote. This sounds trivial, but it's really not. See, in the early days of Exposure Ninja, it was me. I was working freelance and I hired a bunch of freelancers to help me out to do the stuff that I was doing, which was building websites for small businesses. And as we started to grow and we turned it into what is Exposure Ninja, people started saying, yeah, but at the moment you're all remote, it's not really a real business. It's time for Exposure Ninja to go legit. And one person who I really respect in particular told me, look, you need to stop messing around. Now it's time to get a proper office and become a real business. So moved up to Nottingham, we started an office and it was all great to begin with. We had this office space, we started filling it with people, and for a while things were going okay. But over time, I began to get more and more exhausted because I worked long hours. I was riding my bike an hour to the office and then an hour back every single day, which started to take its toll. But there are other telltale signs that working in an office wasn't right for us. Our profitability started to go down because we were wasting time, we were just chit-chatting rather than actually doing work. Clients would come and meet with us and we'd have like a 2-hour meeting, which really could have been a 10 or 15 minute Skype call, but because they were sat in the building with us, we felt like we had to drag it out to make it worthwhile. And of course, because we'd started hiring people to just fill our desks rather than actually people who are genuinely awesome and the best at what they were doing, and because we needed another person, our profitability really tanked. And it got to a stage 6 months after opening the office where I had to make the difficult decision to shut the office, send people home, and actually some of them we had to send away so they never came back. We had to let them go. That was one of the worst days of my life. We were in a 5-year lease on the office, so actually 5 years later we've only just stopped paying for that. Complete waste of time, complete waste of money, and a total mistake, because working remote is in our DNA, it's part of Exposure Ninja. So my first piece of advice is to be okay with being remote. If that's what you want to do, you absolutely go for it. Some fantastic companies like WordPress that have built products that have totally changed the world, work remote. So it's 100% okay to do it. Don't feel like you need to have to hide it from people. My tip number 2 is to understand the necessary remote working superpowers. Working remotely isn't right for everyone, and there are some particular skills that you want to make sure you have and that the people you hire have. So number 1 is the ability to focus. If you're working from a home office, the tendency can always be to go and do other stuff at home. I was talking to one of my friends last night who said I could never work remotely because I'd just be going to get a coffee and just chilling out when I should be working. And I thought, well, yeah, okay, so working remote isn't right for you, but actually if you need to be put in an office prison and forced to work in order to actually do something productive, then really you have an issue that is beyond remote working or not working. But you need to be able to focus, you need to be able to put your time into, concentrated amounts of time into getting a specific outcome at work, even if you're in a home environment. That's really important. It's also a good idea to have a physical separation between workspace and family space, in my opinion. So I have a dedicated room in the house, which is the office. If you don't have a dedicated room, then perhaps you have a dedicated area of the room which you reserve only for work stuff. And then when you're in that, you're in work mode, and when you're out of that, you're in family mode. My tip number 3 is to build a bulletproof, steel-proof employee tracking system. And this is something that people don't often talk about. There's basically 2 ways that you can incentivize and pay your team members. You can either pay them per task that's completed, or you can pay them for the hours that they work. Now at Exposure Ninja, we choose to pay people by the hour because this makes us really scalable. We don't have to have loads of people checking on individual tasks and releasing money. We can just have a very straightforward system that works for everyone across the entire company, and everybody knows exactly what they're getting. Now the challenge with paying people hourly is you need to know how many hours they're working. And if you're working remotely and you don't force people to clock in and out at particular times, then you need a solution for this. So we use Hubstaff, which it's basically a little piece of software that goes on everyone's computers, and they can clock in and out, they can track the projects that they're working on, and every so often it takes a screenshot of their screen. Now this is really important. Some people have a bit of an issue with this for privacy reasons, but really if you're growing a remote business, you absolutely need a way of tracking to make sure that what you're paying for, you're actually getting for your team. Now, I'm always reminded of a Dan Kennedy quote. He said 10% of people will always steal, right? They'll steal even though there's absolutely no reason to steal. They're just fundamentally dishonest. They're programmed that way. Then you've got people at the other side. 10% of people will never steal, right? It's just completely against them. Their moral compass is set so far that they're just, they die rather than steal some food to survive. And then you've got the 80%, the rest of us in the middle, who will steal if we're given the opportunity, and we don't think that we're going to get caught, and we don't think that there's a significant negative outcome because of doing this. So really what you're looking to do with your remote tracking system is cater for the 80%, right? You're never going to stop the 10% who always steal. You're going to see them in the screenshots, you're going to have to let them go. But for the 80%, we just need to give them a framework that they know if they do clock in some hours that maybe they didn't actually work, or if they're on Facebook when they should be doing work stuff, we need to know, or we need them to know, that that's not okay. So that's what the system's really there for. So that's my next tip, is make sure that you have a bulletproof, steel-proof employee tracking system in place. Tip number 4 is to be proud of working remote. Tip number 1 is to be okay with it. Tip number 4 is to actually be proud of it. So this comes back to when clients are asking you, yeah, but you work remote, I'm not really sure if that's legit. You need to make sure that you're clear in your head why working remote is not only okay, but it's actually better than working in an office. Now there are loads of benefits of running a remote business. For example, recruitment. If you run an office-based business, your recruitment is basically limited to the people that live in a certain radius around the office, right? Well, if you run a remote company, all of a sudden your talent pool is potentially anyone in the world who has the expertise and the skills that you're looking for. This is incredible. And we've got some insane people at Exposure Ninja. We've got ex-Google employees, we've got people who've worked for large corporations with loads of responsibility, and they are now ninjas because we offer them a lifestyle that the corporations couldn't offer them. So maybe they want to go traveling, they want to see the world, and they want a job while they do that. They might be incredible people with loads of talent, but the traditional work system doesn't really give them a way to earn money while they're living their life. Well, a remote business will. So you'll be able to attract people who are maybe almost like a level above what you'd be able to hire if you were just looking at your local talent pool, because you offer a much better lifestyle for them. So the quality of people that you'll be able to hire is much better, but because also you're casting a much wider net, you're able to find the absolute A-grade beasts. You don't have to settle for someone who's down the road. You can say, right, I don't want to hire anyone from my city because none of them are good enough. I want to hire a person from the US because they're absolutely insane and we want the best. And you can do that when you work remote. It also gives you access to people who are maybe not able to get office jobs because they are building a home or building a family. Again, they might be incredible people, and if they're a mum particularly, they are definitely incredible. They've created humans and they're raising humans. I don't know what other better qualifications you can have. They might have had to leave office-based jobs, but you can give them a job. They can do their incredible work, and because you're allowing them to spend time with their family, they're going to be really productive as well. Obviously, there are massive efficiencies and overhead benefits to running a remote company rather than office-based business. You're saving on office overhead, for example, which means you can pass on that saving to your clients. So in Exposure Ninja's case, we offer clients a level of service, a level of quality which is way above what they would be able to get for that price elsewhere. So we offer them top grade SEO and content marketing, but for middle grade prices, and we're only able to do that because we are a remote company. Tip number 5 is that well-being still matters. Your team are people. I cannot stress this enough. There's a tendency and a mindset for people who are thinking of outsourcing work that these outsourcers are they're just assets. They're just like assets to be milked, right? So I'd encourage you, as you're building your business, to think about the person behind the email or the person behind the Slack message. So if you're in an office space and someone came in and their head was a bit down and they were clearly, something was clearly up, you'd be able to pick up on that quite quickly. Well, in a remote situation, you might not be able to pick up on that so quickly. So it's important that you have video calls with people. So all of our teams have a team leader or a manager, and they'll have video calls, they'll have one-on-ones where they can catch up with people just to make sure that their team are all okay. But we also have lots of special interest groups inside Exposure Ninja in Slack. And by connecting people and making sure people are always, they've always got someone to talk to, we mitigate the number of people who can have an issue and it can kind of go unnoticed. So it's really important to look after your team, be personal with people. Now, I mentioned the special interest groups on Slack, and this is really important. So we have a really vibrant community on Slack with all of our ninjas. We'll do whole company activities and games around holidays like Christmas, Easter, Valentine's, that type of stuff. We'll have annual get-togethers where we have a summer party in the UK, we have a summer party in the Philippines, and all of the people in those locations or around those locations can fly in, get boats, planes, everyone's coming in from different areas to meet up. We have some cool activities, we stay somewhere, do some cool stuff, and we build some in-person relationships. But the rest of the year, we have these little Slack groups where, for example, if you're interested in art, then there's a whole bunch of ninjas who are drawing and painting and talking about their art. If you're interested in well-being, there's a whole well-being community. If you're interested in Harry Potter, if you're interested in Warhammer, whatever you might be interested, chances are, out of 100 people or 98 people in the company, there's going to be other people who are interested in those things. So we get these great, vibrant communities who are interested in these shared topics. And that allows people to build the personal relationships that they might otherwise build in an office, but do it online. You got to take care of health. Health is number one, isn't it? That's your body is your vehicle to get you through life, right? And you don't want to set off with a broken vehicle or, you're like smashing the tires or breaking the windows as you're driving. You need to look after yourself first. So we're really keen on making sure people are fundamentally okay with themselves, and then that helps them to be productive. So those are my 5 top tips for growing a remote company. Firstly, be okay with it. Secondly, understand the remote working superpowers necessary to be a fantastic remote worker. Number 3, implement a bulletproof and steel-proof system for tracking your team. Number 4, be proud of working remote when you're talking to clients. And number 5, be conscious of health and well-being. I hope you found this really useful. Drop me a comment to let me know what your top tips are for growing a remote business. If you're growing one, if you're not, let me know what business you're in. If you've got any questions about growing a remote company, then feel free to leave them in the comments. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more videos, and I'll see you soon.